In the quiet moments when effort has been exhausted and the heart is left alone with its thoughts, there comes a realization that no amount of planning can fully protect a human being from uncertainty. Life does not unfold according to intention alone. It moves with a complexity that no mind can fully map. And it is in these moments when plans stall and strength feels insufficient that the concept of tawakkul stops being a word and begins to demand meaning. Tawakkul is often spoken about lightly, almost casually, as if it is something that comes naturally once effort is made. But true tawakkul is not a switch that turns on when things go wrong. It is a state of the heart that is formed slowly, often painfully, through moments when control slips away and the believer is forced to confront the limits of their own power. At its core, my tawakkul is not passive. It is not resignation. It is not giving up responsibility. Tawakkul is the deep internal certainty that after every sincere effort has been made, the outcome belongs entirely to Allah. And that certainty is not easy to achieve. It challenges the ego. It confronts fear. It demands humility. Human beings are conditioned to believe that security comes from predictability, from knowing what will happen next, from being able to anticipate outcomes, from having control. But Islam teaches something radically different. It teaches that true security does not come from certainty of outcome, but from certainty in Allah. There are moments when the heart feels restless, not because effort is lacking, but because reliance is misplaced. When the heart leans too heavily on results, timelines, approval, or expectations, it becomes fragile. It rises with success and collapses with delay. Tawakkul anchors the heart somewhere else entirely. It anchors it in the one who controls outcomes, not in the outcomes themselves. Many believers struggle with tawakkul not because they doubt Allah's power, but because they fear uncertainty, they fear loss, they fear disappointment, they fear that if they fully let go, something will fall apart. But tawakkul is not about letting things fall apart. It is about trusting that whatever happens has already passed through divine wisdom. There is a profound difference between trusting Allah and trusting circumstances. Circumstances are unstable. They change without warning. They shift despite effort. Allah does not change. His knowledge is complete. His wisdom is perfect. His mercy is vast. Thus, tawakkul transfers the heart's dependence from what is unstable to what is eternal. One of the greatest misunderstandings about tawakkul is the belief that it eliminates fear. It does not. Fear still exists. Uncertainty still exists. The future remains unseen. Tawakkul does not remove these realities. It teaches the heart how to stand in the presence of them without collapsing. A believer with tawakkul still feels concern, still experiences hesitation, still hopes for relief. But beneath all of that is a calm acceptance that whatever unfolds will not be random, meaningless, or unjust. That belief alone reshapes how hardship is experienced. When effort does not produce results, the heart naturally begins to question: was the effort enough? Was the intention sincere? Was the path wrong? These questions are human. Tawakkul does not silence them immediately. It reframes them. It reminds the heart that effort is worship, not a guarantee of outcome. Allah never promised that effort would always lead to visible success. He promised that sincerity would never be wasted. Tawakkul is trusting that promise even when the world offers no confirmation. There are times when a believer stands at the edge of exhaustion, having done everything they know how to do, and still nothing changes. It is here that tawakkul becomes either a refuge or a struggle. The heart either clings desperately to control, or it finally releases its grip and leans into trust. Releasing control does not feel natural. It feels vulnerable. it feels uncomfortable, it feels risky, but the heart was never meant to carry the burden of control. It was meant to carry faith. Now, the tawakkul teaches the heart to distinguish between responsibility and ownership. You are responsible for effort. You are not the owner of outcomes. That distinction frees the heart from unnecessary weight. Many anxieties are not rooted in hardship itself, but in the fear of how hardship might unfold. Tawakkul interrupts this cycle by anchoring the heart in the present. It teaches the believer to focus on what is required now, not on what might happen later. When the future feels overwhelming, tawakkul narrows the focus. It says, do what you can today and trust Allah with tomorrow. This simplicity is not weakness, it is strength. There is a quiet confidence that emerges from true tawakkul. Not arrogance, not entitlement, but a steady assurance that no matter what happens, the believer will not be abandoned. That confidence does not come from knowing what will happen, but from knowing who is in control. This is why tawakkul does not collapse under disappointment. When expectations are not met, the heart that relies on Allah does not shatter. It grieves, yes. It feels pain, yes, but it does not lose its anchor. Tawakkul also reshapes how success is perceived. Success is no longer defined solely by achievement or results. It is defined by obedience, sincerity, and effort. If the outcome aligns with the desire, gratitude follows. If it does not, trust remains. This balance protects the heart from extremes. It prevents arrogance in ease and despair in hardship. It stabilizes faith across changing circumstances. There is a mercy in not knowing the future. If the heart knew everything that lay ahead, it might collapse under the weight of anticipation. Allah conceals the future not as a punishment, but as a protection. Tawakkul is trusting that concealment. The believer who practices tawakkul understands that some delays are answers, some denials are mercy, some closed doors are protection. This understanding does not come instantly, it matures over time through reflection and experience. Tawakkul also requires patience with oneself. The heart does not always trust easily. Doubts resurface, fear returns. The believer may need to remind themselves again and again where reliance belongs. This repetition is not failure, it is growth. There are moments when the heart whispers, "What if things never change?" Tawakkul responds, "Then Allah will give you what you need to endure them." That response alone shifts the weight of fear. True reliance on Allah does not demand explanations. It does not require understanding every wisdom. It rests in the belief that Allah knows what the heart does not. This belief is not blind. It is informed by revelation, by reflection, by lived experience. Again and again, believers witness that what they once feared became a turning point, and what they once desired might have harmed them. Tawakkul teaches humility. It reminds the believer that intelligence, effort, and planning are blessings, not guarantees. They are tools, not masters. When a believer places trust in Allah, it does not mean they stop striving. It means they stop breaking when striving does not yield immediate fruit. There is a particular peace that comes when the heart finally accepts that Allah owes nothing, yet gives endlessly. That peace does not depend on outcomes. It flows from recognition of divine generosity. Tawakkul also reshapes how the believer views mistakes. Failure is no longer a verdict on worth. It becomes part of a larger journey guided by Allah. Regret transforms into learning. Shame transforms into humility. Even when doors close repeatedly, tawakkul keeps the heart open, not to desperation, but to possibility. Possibility rooted in divine wisdom, not human assumption. The believer who relies on Allah learns to sit with uncertainty without panic, to wait without despair, to hope without attachment. This balance is rare, but it is transformative. Tawakkul does not mean the heart stops feeling. It means feelings no longer dictate faith. Anxiety may visit, but it does not stay. Doubt may knock, but it does not settle. Over time, tawakkul reshapes identity. The believer no longer defines themselves by what they have or lack. They define themselves by who they rely on. And this reliance creates resilience. When life shifts unexpectedly, the heart does not collapse. It adapts, it adjusts, it returns to Allah again and again. The power of tawakkul lies not in changing the world instantly, but in changing how the heart walks through it. It lightens burdens, it softens fear, it deepens faith. A heart that truly relies on Allah is never alone, even in isolation, never abandoned, even in silence, never defeated, even in loss. This is not because hardship disappears, but because the heart has learned where to place its trust. And when trust is placed correctly, peace follows quietly, steadily, without announcement. That peace does not promise ease, it promises steadiness. It promises that no matter how uncertain the road becomes, the believer will not walk it without guidance. Tawakkul is not the absence of a struggle, it is the presence of trust within it. And when the heart finally learns this, it stops asking for certainty and starts finding contentment in reliance. Because the one who controls the outcome is the same one who controls the heart. And that is enough. And when the heart finally understands tawakkul, it stops exhausting itself by trying to control what was never placed in its hands. It stops fighting the unseen and starts trusting the one who sees everything. It learns that effort is worship, patience is strength, and reliance is freedom. This is when the believer realizes that tawakkul is not something practiced only in moments of crisis. It is a way of living. It is how the heart wakes up in the morning and how it rests at night. It is how the believer moves forward without certainty but with confidence. Not confidence in self, but confidence in Allah. A heart anchored in tawakkul is not shaken by delay, because it knows delay is not denial. It is not crushed by loss, because it knows nothing written can miss it. And it is not intoxicated by success, because it knows every blessing is a trust. Tawakkul does not promise that the road will be smooth. It promises that the heart will not walk it alone. It promises that even when the future is unclear, the one guiding it is perfectly aware. And when the believer finally places full reliance in Allah, something remarkable happens. Fear loosens its grip, anxiety quiets, the need for constant reassurance fades. The heart becomes lighter, not because the world becomes easier, but because trust becomes deeper. This is the power of tawakkul. Not to remove every hardship, but to give the heart the strength to carry it with faith. Not to explain every decree, but to accept it with peace. Not to control destiny, but to walk into it with certainty that Allah's wisdom is kinder than any fear. And when the heart reaches this place, it no longer asks for life without trials. It asks for a heart that remains firm through them. Because a heart that truly relies on Allah has already found what it was searching for.